is a complex phenomenon that has been studied and analyzed by economy for decades. At its core, inflation is the rate at which the general level of price for goods and services is rising and the subsequent reduction in purchasing power that results. Inflation is a crucial economic indicator as it affects everything from wages and employment to the cost of living and the overall health of the economy. There are many causes of inflation, which it can have a significant impact on the economy. One of the primary drivers of inflation is an increase in the money supply. When there is more money in circulation, it is easier for people to spend, which can drive up demand for goods and services. The increased demand can lead to higher prices as businesses are able to charge more for their products and services. So how do we calculate the inflation rate? To calculate the inflation rate, we first need to determine the CPI for the year. We choose the CPI is a measure of the average change in price over time for a basket of goods and services that are commonly purchased by households. It is calculated by comparing the price of these goods and services in current year to their price in a base year. Once we have the CPI for the year we choose, we can calculate the inflation rate by comparing it to the CPI for previous year. To do this, you will subtract this previous CPI from the current CPI and then divide this result by previous CPI. The resulting number is the percentage change in the price between 2 years, which is the inflation rate. It is important to note that inflation rate can be calculated for different time periods such as a month, a quarter, or a year. Additionally, inflation rate can be calculated using different measures of price change such as the production price index, which is PPI, or the gross domestic product GDP deflator. So, what is the formula to calculate the inflation rate? Inflation rate is equal to CPI current year minus CPI previous year and divide to CPI previous year times 100, where CPI stands for Consumer Price Index. The inflation rate is calculated by taking the difference between CPI for the current year and CPI previous year, dividing that difference by the CPI for the previous year, and then multiply the result by 100 to get a percentage. From the data that we provide to calculate the inflation rate from the 2020 to 2022, we will need to compare the CPI for each year. So the CPI for 2020 was 120.1 and the CPI for 2022 was 127.2. To calculate the inflation rate, we will first find the difference between two CPI. 127.2 minus 120.1, which equal to 7.1. Next, you will divide the difference by the original CPI, which is from 2020, and multiply by 100 to get the percentage increase, which means 7.1. Divide to 120.1, that we will have to times 100, and we will get the answer that will be in percentage, which is 5.91%. So the inflation rate from 2020 to 2022 will be 5.91.
Now I will explain how fiscal policy can be used to control inflation. First thing first, let me explain what is fiscal policy. Fiscal policy refers to the use of government spending and tax policies to influence economic conditions, especially macroeconomic conditions. These include aggregate demand for goods and services, employment, inflation, and economic growth. Fiscal policy divides into two types, which is expansionary and contractionary. For expansionary fiscal policy, it is involved increasing government spending or reducing taxes. It is often used during economic downturns to boost consumer and business spending, increase employment, and stimulate economic growth. While contractionary fiscal policy involves decreasing government spending and increasing taxes. It is implemented during periods of high inflation to reduce overall demand, cool down the economy, and prevent excessive price increases. So now let's move to the question on how fiscal policy can be used to control inflation. First, government spending. When the government reduces its spending, especially on large projects and public service, it decreases the overall demand in the economy. With lower demand, businesses are less likely to increase price, which can help prevent inflationary pressure. Reduced government spending also can lead to lower budget deficit. Second, increasing taxes. By raising taxes, the government reduces disposable income into the hands of consumers and decreases corporate profits. When consumers have less money to spend and businesses have reduced profit due to higher taxes, overall demand also decreases. This reduction in demand can help control inflationary tendency by preventing consumers from bidding up price through increased spending. The last one is managing aggregate demand. Fiscal policy can help manage the overall aggregate demand in the economy. By fine-tuning government spending and taxation policies, policymakers can ensure that the economy operates close to its potential without overheating. An overheated economy where demand significantly outstrips supply often leads to inflation. By keeping aggregate demand in check, fiscal policy can help stabilize price. That's all from me. Thank you.
Move on to the how monetary policy can use to control inflation. First and foremost, I will explain about monetary policy. Monetary policy is one method in which the government can influence the economy. In Malaysia, the responsibility for formulating and implementing monetary policy is entrusted to BNM as the country's central bank. Monetary policy is also related to attempts to solve monetary inequalities because this strategy has the potential to affect how agents behave in the economy, and the need to avoid the effect of a financial imbalance or the effectiveness of the financial policy itself. Monetary policy can be used to control inflation by contractionary monetary policy. The goal of a contractionary monetary policy is to lower the money supply. The instruments used are selling government bonds, include open market operations, increasing the liquid reserve ratio, and increasing the bank rate. First, open market operations are the selling and buying of treasury bills and other government security by a country's central bank in an effort to control the amount of money in the economy. In this system, when the central bank aims to decrease the market money supply, it sells assets on the open market. The goal is to increase interest rate. Higher interest rate make borrowing more expensive, which can discourage individuals and companies from borrowing and investing. The effect, this lower economic expenditure and investment overall. During inflation, the money supply is excessive, so the central bank will act to reduce the money supply in the economy by increasing the cash reserve ratio. The cash reserve ratio is a particular minimum percentage of all the kinds deposit that must be kept on hand by commercial bank as a reserve, either in the form of a cash or deposit. The cash reserve ratio rate will be set in accordance with the central bank's guidelines. As a result of the bank's decreased ability to extend credit or make loans, there are less loans made, which lower the money supply. Last but not least, the discount rate. Discount rate is the interest rate that is the cost of the loan that the borrower must pay when taking out a loan. When the central bank increases the discount rate, banks must pay more to borrow money from the central bank. Higher interest rate across the higher financial system may result from this. Higher interest rates are likely to discourage both individuals and business from borrowing and spending. This decreased expenditure has the potential to decrease the overall demand for the economy, as the borrowing declines as the result of an increased interest rate. The economy's money supply might go smaller, because there is less money available for spending. When there is less money in calculation, inflation may be lower.
After months of growing conflict between Russia and Ukraine over two contested districts, Donetsk and Luhansk, Russia announced its total military assault into Ukraine on February 24, 2022, escalating the Russo-Ukrainian war that began in 2014. The invasion is the largest attack on a European country since World War II. While the war in Europe may sound miles away to many Malaysians, the country undoubtedly feels the consequences. Therefore, there are several impacts of the Ukraine war on Malaysia's economy in relation to inflation. First and foremost, Malaysia faced an increment in oil and gas prices due to the war. As Russia holds the world's top energy exporter, countries relying on Russian energy are seeking alternative sources. The conflict in Ukraine affects energy prices, including natural gas and oil, as Ukraine is a transit country for Russian gas supplies to Europe. And Any disruption in energy supply or a significant increase in energy prices impacted Malaysia as it's an energy importer. As evident, Malaysia faced a sharp rise in fuel prices. Raw 97 petrol prices went up by 60 cents from RM3.29 to RM3.45 on March 3, 2022, and another 30 cents to RM3.75 on March 10, 2022. The conflict has pushed oil prices above $100 per barrel for the first time since 2014. While higher oil prices benefit petrol companies, the government needs to provide more subsidies, keeping raw 95 and diesel prices steady at RM2.05 and RM2.50 per litre to mitigate the impact in the short term. This strains Malaysian people who might switch to raw 95, reducing purchasing power after raw 97 reached a new high. Moreover, Malaysia also encountered an increment in commodity price. Ukraine is a significant exporter of agricultural products like wheat and corn, just like Russia. The ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict threatens to disrupt global food supplies, potentially leading to higher food prices worldwide. This could affect Malaysia because any increase in food prices on the global market could contribute to inflation domestically. Plus, Malaysia could face shortage as the country relies on wheat imports from Ukraine, which is one of the top 5 countries supplying wheat to Malaysia, affecting its domestic food supply. Chicken prices rose due to an increase in chicken feed prices as corn and wheat are the primary materials used in the production of animal feed, particularly chicken feed. The price of a standard processed chicken increased by 70.19% from 2021 and 2022. As a result, the inflation rate for households increased. Citizens might struggle to afford their usual grocery purchases, especially with the additional pressure from the ongoing inflation due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The situation compounds challenges, particularly concerning the price of necessity and food items like red meats, vegetables, and other essentials. Hence, that's all from me. Thank you.